Vignettes with Reddit, r/askreddit. What black market did kids in your school run? Photos of groups of friends. I'd take pics at lunch, and sell yesterday's photos for $5 to $8, of all the little crews and cliques, develop the film in the darkroom during a free period in the afternoon, print the negatives during first or second period photo class. Sell the black and white 5x7s or 8x10s during lunch and take more images. Wash, rinse, repeat. I made hundreds of dollars, if not more. I was a spendthrift. Some adults thought it was drug-related, but no one who actually knew me. My school had 2,000 to 3,000 students, some kids bought multiple pics. I took pics of couples, but the best were groups of 10 to 15 ppl. Could make $100 on one image. Edit, this was mid-80s. I wish I had this job now. What's great about this is that a lot of those kids still cherish those photos 30 years later. Where did it all come from? Could it maybe be drugs? My child's making bank. Are they one of those thugs? They say it's just photos and their friends will not snitch. But how in the fuck did my kid get so rich? Teacher here. A kid at my previous school sold those little salt and pepper packets to kids at lunch every day. 50 cents for both. The cafeteria, due to state/fed regulations, didn't season anything, so the food was blander than bland. He made a few $100s over the course of the month. He did this before admin shut him down. Now I want to know why someone would ban seasoning. Why shut it down? Zip ties. When you go to a ski resort and buy a lift ticket, before the RFID ones a lot of places have now, they'd have a little thing full of zip ties so you could take one and attach it to your jacket. When I was in middle school, over the course of a week I took a couple of thousand of those from the resort I went to with my family for vacation. When I got back to school, I brought with me a backpack full of zip ties, neatly zip-tied into bundles of 20. I sold those bundles of 20 for $1.05 each, depending on who was asking. Why would people want to buy zip ties? Well, at first, they wanted to get revenge on me, for zip-tying all their shit closed/together/to other things. Eventually, though, once they had gotten revenge on me and still had zip ties left over, they'd do it to other people, who would want revenge on them. And so on, and so forth. I had a lot of repeat customers in that battle. Sell 3 colors for different prices and watch factions happen. You not only had a market monopoly, you created the demand from scratch. Damn, this is basically war profiteering. Kool-Aid gummy bears. In middle school, a group of guys I know began to sell these for $1 a bag because the school snacks were trash. They ended up creating an empire and would literally sell 100 of these daily. The school eventually cracked down on their business because the kids were making a mess in the bathrooms. The dealers stopped selling before they got into trouble, and this upset the Kool-Aid addicts. This then prompted many other students to come up with their own recipe and try to become the new hot shots. I kid you not when I tell you how quick everyone was to try and dispose of their competition. The school was giving out detentions to everyone selling the product and to those buying it. After the school stated that they would suspend anyone seen with the Kool-Aid gummy bears, it died. I feel like my school was the birthplace of many future drug dealers and addicts. Sugar is a hell of a drug. What is a Kool-Aid gummy bear exactly? You say you can make these? There's 2 that come to mind. Both in middle school. The faculty caught on that this one kid was selling something from his locker. They immediately thought it was drugs and asked to search his locker. Turns out his dad cured really good beef jerky and my whole class was obsessed with it. Think him and his dad made a good buck before he got shut down. The other kid lived near the Tasty Cake factory in town, prepackaged, super sugary baked goods. The factory would throw out perfectly good products if their packaging was damaged in any way. This included the outer boxes that held the tasty treats. This kid would go to their dump, steal these boxes, and then sell the treats individually in school for $1 a treat. His operation lasted a bit longer than the beef jerky kids. I think both of them became good friends in high school. Lol. This is the only one that made me laugh out loud. Lamau. Do you live near Westchester by chance? Kids from my school would always get into the tasty cake dumpster and come back with trash bags full of good food. I ran a black market distribution network for Warheads in the 4th grade. They had just come out, and were immediately all the rage at school. Mom had an in with a wholesaler, so I bought a ton of them. Sold them for $0.25 a piece. 50 cents for the fizzy ones when they came out. Eventually we had a small riot on the playground when I stood on the jungle gym and threw them into the crowd like Frank Lucas throwing out fucking turkeys in Harlem. Some kid got hurt, the teachers got wind of the racket and I got shut down. Warheads were banned from the school. But man, it was a wild ride. I also got in trouble with my Warhead selling. Kid gave me a $20 for 10 and his parents ended up calling the school to find out who he gave his money to. My Warhead selling ended the next day with my giving his money back, and I didn't get my Warheads back. You single-handedly ruined childhood for your school. Ha ha ha. Warheads were a huge thing at my elementary school. The only way you could sit at the table was if you could suck on one and not bite down. It was a small school, so each grade had 1 or 2 tables at lunch. One kid decided that he was going to start charging for Warheads until another one also started charging for Warheads. They started bringing in investors, private school kids, but the price got too steep. Everyone just figured to bring their own until the kid who hated them, and therefore couldn't sit at the table, told the teacher they were being used to bully. So the teachers banned them and would check a few times every week for couple months to make sure we weren't bringing them in. Because he told he wasn't really checked, so he then got the market on Warheads, sold them at 50 cents and sat at the middle of the table. He eventually started dictating who sat where. It was ridiculous. Talk about turning tables, because he went from being on the outside and teased, to being cool one, which then followed him through middle and high school. Only a few of us from our elementary school transferred to the public school system, so no one really knew about it. He made a presentation in high school about businesses and made the point to always take out your opponent. That's so stupid, the way schools overreact to things. Someone got hurt trying to get a piece of candy being thrown into a crowd. Better ban that candy. It's dangerous. So dumb. My school had a guy who used to go around selling candy. He ended up dying when he was shot attempting to rob a home. Good times. That went from 0 to 100 real quick. One of the guys who sold candy at my school went to prison for robbing the grocery store he worked at out of high school. I also worked at a grocery store, and I also daydreamed about knocking the place over. They had $60,000 in cash at any given time, and on really busy days over $120,000. It actually amazes me that cash rooms at big stores don't get robbed more. There's a lot more accessible money than your average bank branch. I made a small fortune selling old liquor. I lived in kind of a crappy area when I was a kid, but my high school served typical suburbia. There was a dilapidated old bar a few doors down from my house, and one day, when I was about 16, it shut down. I'm not really sure what happened, but rumor was that the town had repossessed it for back taxes. Whatever happened, the owners packed up a huge U-Haul one weekend and left. There was a little bit of activity for a few days after, but then it pretty much sat empty for months. One day, maybe 6 months later, me being a bored high school kid, decided to make an attempt to get inside. I strolled around the back, which was like an overgrown lot, and pulled on the basement door. They were storm doors, opened right up. When I walked in, the place was mostly empty, but I discovered maybe 2,000 bottles of crappy old liquor in one of the basement storage areas. Old bottles of gin, schnapps, and whiskey mostly. I paused for a few minutes, thought about what I had to do. I spent the next 3 days emptying this storage place out with duffel bags. I'd sit out by my local movie theater and sell little bottles of whiskey for $15 each. Every weekend I'd have a list of parties to drop bottles off at. I'd get $40 for a handle, $30 for a 750 ml bottle, and $15, $20 for anything smaller. Sometimes I'd work out deals where I'd go to parties and sell plastic cups for $10, $15, and you could have as much to drink out of my duffel bag as you wanted. So there I was, riding my bike all over town with a huge duffel bag full of liquor every weekend for a little over a year. I gave a ton away to friends and had my own parties, and I still probably made somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. Didn't get caught till the very end. I had bottles hidden all over my house and backyard, and my mom ended up finding about 12 bottles under my bed. I was already 18 at that point and getting ready to head off to college, so I didn't get into much trouble. I ended up telling her the extent of it a few years later, and she said she knew something was up. Anyway, that was a lucrative little side business for me. The place sat empty for maybe 4 to 5 years and then became a small office building. Sometimes I feel a little guilty about technically stealing all that liquor, but I'm certain it would have gotten thrown out when they finally cleaned the place out. Absolute mad lad. Thank you for watching the video. If you're new, please be sure to subscribe, like and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. Post your own stories in the comments down below.